I've gotten a lot of questions recently on how I clean up my castings like straight out of the flask. What do I do step by step to get my jewelry clean and get the investment off and get it shiny? And I do have a video on my entire polishing process. A few things have changed, but I didn't show you guys what I do straight out of the flask because majority of you guys, I assumed, aren't casting and I didn't think you would need those steps. But now it seems that a lot of you are casting or you're wanting to get into casting. So let's go through my entire polishing process straight out of the flask. I've got super dirty pieces straight out of the flask. I've got a gold one and a silver one. I do the exact same thing for gold and for silver, so it's not going to be a different, I just happen to have them. And they're still covered in investment. I haven't taken the investment off. I'm going to go through what I do, but I'm going to tell you the things that aren't 100% necessary, things that you could probably get away without doing, but they're just more convenient for me or save me time, save me steps, polishing steps. But either way, I'm going to go through the whole thing and I'll let you know what's 100% necessary or not. This first one I started doing more recently, probably about 4 or 5 months ago. I got another ultrasonic cleaner from Harbor Freight and this solution called Blast Off from Rio Grande. So as soon as I take my pieces out of the flask and I try and pick off as much investment as I can, they're still covered in investment. You can see here, they're covered in a layer. Please ignore my nails, they look really bad. I need to do them. But if you have any pieces that have super tiny nooks and crannies, then you know it is really, really difficult to get investment out of those tiny places or out of stone settings, like little stone settings. The investment settles in there and it can be really, really, really hard to get it out. Before I got the ultrasonic and the blast off solution, which you don't have to have, it just makes it life a lot easier. I used to just spend a lot of time in my bathroom sink with a toothbrush trying to scrub away as much investment as I possibly could. I know that's probably not a good thing. Over time, I'm sure investment can settle in your pipes, so it's actually good to not do that. Maybe you should wash your stuff like in a bucket, maybe in my Harbor Freight buckets, or if you have like a Home Depot bucket or something. But Dawn dish soap and a toothbrush is what I used to use. It can get the job done. It's just gonna take you a lot more time. And the bigger your trees get, the more pieces you're having to clean, the longer that's going to take. So I really like putting my pieces in that bath. It gets all of the investment off really, really well. I would say it gets about 97, 98% off, and then every now and then you have to pick a few pieces off here and there, but it's not a big deal. Once it's done in the ultrasonic cleaner and you have your investment off, then you can drop it in your pickle pot. I like to use my Smart Pickle from Pepe Tools. Before I started using that, I was using vinegar and salt, and it smelled so bad. It made my whole studio smell literally like a pickle. And yeah, it comes in a big jar. It lasts a really, really long time and it gets your pieces really nice and bright white. As soon as it's done in the pickle pot, maybe 30 minutes, sometimes 45, just depending on how bright your pieces are getting, then I like to take it out and just go give it a rinse under the sink. Then I cut my pieces off of the sprue tree with some sprue cutters. Sometimes I have to use a jeweler's saw to cut off like these interior sprues to get inside the ring. So cut your sprues off. And then you can decide if you want to sand your sprues down first before this next step. This next tool is not 1000% necessary, but it's really, really changed and sped up my polishing process. I'm gonna have a video soon on tumblers versus magnetic tumblers because I've been using that magnetic tumbler for my cast pieces, but it has been a huge game changer. It's from Pepe Tools and it's called a Super Finish magnetic tumbler. I drop my pieces in there straight after cutting them off of the tree. I don't do any sanding, I don't do any polishing, and they come out so shiny. Not only does it allow me to skip a bunch of polishing steps like sanding wheel steps, which saves me a lot of time, but it also preserves my texture by using that. Before I started using that, I was having to go in with my red, blue, like my more coarse radial discs, and sometimes it was removing my texture. And then I have to go in with a diamond burr, recreate the texture, go in and sand more gently. And this lets me skip those more rough areas, or at least lets me become more focused on one area rather than sanding the whole piece. And it's just so nice. Using the magnetic tumbler, I can skip straight to the green radial discs, sometimes purple and then green, just depending on the piece. But that is the reason why you want to make sure your wax ring is as finished as you can get it, like as smooth, as scratch-free as you can possibly make it, because then you get to preserve all of those details by not having to sand so much. Not only is that magnetic tumbler great for skipping all of those steps, but it also finishes the inside of your settings, which I always found really challenging trying to get my polishing wheels, my radial discs, or taking little pieces of cotton or little pieces of sandpaper and getting in really tiny nooks and crannies. It can be really tricky to get in there and get a really nice high shine so that your gemstone can sparkle through. And those pins in that magnetic tumbler are so tiny that they can get in all of those nooks and crannies, which again saves you so much time trying to get in all of those small spaces. So it finishes the inside of your settings. And then the last thing that I really like about it is that it doesn't work harden your piece. If you're like me and you're setting your gemstones after casting, then you don't want to have something that's been work hardened, like putting it in a tumbler. So I don't like to put my pieces in the tumbler after casting unless they're rings that don't have any gemstones in them, because I don't want to work harden the metal and make my stone setting job harder. Pepe Tools is sponsoring this video. If you don't know who Pepe Tools is a jewelry manufacturing company. They're here in the US and they make and sell all kinds of jewelry tools at all like levels. They've got a lot of good affordable tools. They've got a lot of good like luxury tools. Not only do they have tools, but they have workbenches, they have consumables. So if you're looking for a jewelry tool company to shop with, they're a very good option. They also ship worldwide as well. So if you're interested in any of the tools that I'm talking about today, I will have everything linked below, as well as other favorite Pepe tools that I use. I'll have that linked below as well. Again, I'm gonna make a video on this versus that, rotary versus magnetic. So if you have a favorite, let me know in the comments what your favorite is versus the two. But I will make a video soon on the difference between the two, because there is a time and a place for each one. But yes, that is a new thing in my process that has changed everything for me. It also has allowed me to offer that nice finish for my casting customers. If you're someone who's getting your pieces cast by someone else, most casters, and I did as well, and the people that I had always received pieces from whenever I was outsourcing my casting work, it always came to me right after the pickled step. There was no finishing, there was nothing like that. That was the expectation, and that is what a lot of people do. I also, though, had heard that some casting houses were throwing people's pieces in those magnetic, rotary magnetic barrel tumbler thingies, and so now I do that as well, and it's really nice because I know, as someone who's stone setting, how convenient it is to have the inside of your setting all nice and polished. So yeah, big perk. I'm really happy with that magnetic tumbler. So after the magnetic tumbler, I'm gonna look at my piece. I'm going to re-add any texture that needs to be added. I'm gonna sand down any sprues if I didn't do so in the beginning. So it's up to you what you wanna do. Either way, the area is gonna have to be sanded. So it doesn't really matter if you use your belt sander or a sanding wheel to sand down those sprues first or last, because no matter what, you're gonna have to do finishing work where that sprue was, if that makes sense. So go ahead and sand down your sprue and re-add any texture that you need to. And then I like to go in with my radial discs. I've always used radial discs. I've always loved them. I've never had a problem with them. I did recently order some like silicone rubber sanding wheels just to see what they're like, because I've heard good things about them, but I do still use my radial discs. I still love them. The only reason why I'm trying the other ones is because I'm just genuinely curious. So if I find that those are better than the radial discs, I will let you guys know in a future video. But as for now, those radial discs are really good. And Pepe Tools also sells a set that has teeny tiny cute little radial discs. I don't have any, but you can just imagine a shrunken version of the radial discs I do have. So I only ever use my dark blue, my red, my purple, and my green. And you go in that exact order when you're polishing. Once I'm done with the radial discs, then I go in with my polishing mop. You can either use a polishing mop on your flex shaft, or you can use a polishing mop in something like these. Any kind of polishing motor will work. I really recommend the Fine All polishing mops. Anything that has a very fluffy ply. That way it doesn't take off too much of your metal or take off too much of your texture. If you are wanting your compound to get out scratches, like maybe you have a little more scratches than you would like, then having a more dense buffing wheel is going to be something that you need. So you decide which one you need for the task. But if you have something with a lot of heavy texture, you're gonna want something that's called a final buffing wheel that's not super tightly packed. You want to be able to kind of like flip through all of the little plies super easily. You'll notice some polishing mops or some buffing wheels are gonna have a little sewn ring to keep things really tight, and I'll try and insert a picture here of what I mean. And then you're gonna have ones that don't have any like rope sucking them in together, keeping them tightly packed, and they're gonna be really like flexible. Let me grab one and show you. So if I'm choosing to use my flex shaft to polish out of convenience, then I'll use these little buffing wheels. They are really, really flexible. These are like faux, oh my god, my nails look so bad. These are like faux buffing wheels. That's just what they're called. I'll have them linked below. But they're not super stiff. If you get something that's very stiff, it's gonna take away sections of your jewelry. You're gonna end up like wearing down certain areas or certain textures. And that's gonna be the same concept as well with your buffing pads. Obviously there's a time and a place to have one that's more firm, but I like to use this one that's really flexible, so my ring can go like all in between these and it just really conforms to the shape of my ring. I did make a video, or it's in my last studio vlog, how to dress these mops, because these ones specifically put off a ton of lint in the air, and it will tickle your face and it will get everywhere. And sometimes it can put out little strings that will snag your jewelry and it can swing it around. So please, I really suggest, and it's not a must, but if you do end up getting these types of wheels, please dress them. It involves lighting the lint on fire with a lighter to shorten it, to snuff it, to burn it off or whatever. But I could see if you didn't have an enclosed hood like that and you're polishing a chain or a ring and maybe it catches on your prong and the ring shoots out and you've got this open space and it hits you or hits a wall and breaks your jewelry, just please dress your mops. I personally feel like it's an important step. So the first polishing compound you're going to want to use is called Tripoli. I've used Tripoli this entire time and I love Tripoli, and it's why I haven't changed. I know I've heard whispers of there being some components in Tripoli that aren't super healthy for you, but to be honest, I don't think any of those compounds are healthy for you. I will do some research though right here when I'm editing this video, and if there are some harmful components in Tripoli that are not in the rouge or in any other compounds, I will put it right here, and then maybe don't use Tripoli and maybe I'll start to stop using it. But I still use my Tripoli compound and I love it, and that helps me feel safe with everything. That is an enclosed polishing system, and it's got a huge vacuum to suck away any particles that get put in the air. So anytime you're polishing, and I know I'm not the best example of this, but please do as I say and not as I do. Wear a mask. Wear a mask. Like, you don't want silver in your lungs or compound in your lungs or the like radial disc dust in your lungs. I know better, and I do not always do those things. So if you see me not wearing a mask, just don't do as I do and I will do better. So PSA, wear your mask, wear your safety gear. Anyway, I go in with Tripoli first, and then I go and I wash it off with some Dawn dish soap. You have to wash off your compound before switching to the next compound. Otherwise, you will never achieve the highest shine because you're gonna have that coarser grit that you used first if you let them mix together. So you need to have two different polishing mops for each compound, and between switching compounds you need to wash off your jewelry really well so that you can get the best shine possible. The next and last step is going to be the rouge compound. I use this for both silver and gold, although I hear really good things about the blue compound as well. Like blue, I think most people use for silver, and then red they use for gold. I use it for both, and I find that I get really good results for both. If you guys use blue compound, can you please let me know what your preference is like between that and red? I've never used blue. I've just heard good things, just never like went for it, never tried it. Once I'm done polishing with the rouge, this one is not super necessary, but if you want your stuff to get really clean, if you've got nooks and crannies, if you have stone settings, you're really going to want to have an ultrasonic cleaner. You can get ultrasonic cleaners anywhere. You can get them at the hardware store. I got mine from Amazon, this one at least. You can get them anywhere, but you're gonna want an ultrasonic cleaner. That way you can get all of the compound out of those teeny, teeny, tiny areas and out from underneath your setting, because compound will work its way underneath those settings. I set my ultrasonic to 70 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. I'll put it right here, but one of the key components to getting a good ultrasonic clean is the solution that you use. I did not think that it would make a big difference, and I cheaped out one time on my solution, and I'll show a picture of the bottle here that I got that I didn't use because it was that bad. The purple stuff that I have right here does not work. Don't buy it. The only thing that I found that works really, really, really well is called Shine Bright, and I'll put it right here as well. I also have it linked in my Amazon storefront, but it's called Shine Bright, and it does a really, really, really good job of getting that compound out of those places. I don't know if it just makes the water extra soapy or just helps break down all of those oils and compounds, but it works really good. So please just do yourself a favor and get that stuff. Don't try and cheap out on like cheaper jewelry cleaner, because unfortunately it does matter. I like to leave the jewelry in the ultrasonic cleaner for at least 5 minutes. Every now and then I'll have to leave it in just a little bit longer if there's some stubborn compound stuck somewhere, but 5 minutes should do the trick. One thing about ultrasonic cleaners, something I learned recently, is that the metal basket it comes with is not your friend. It will leave little micro scratches on the bottom of your jewelry wherever it's resting because of the vibration. You can't see them so much with your naked eye. You can if you look really close. And I think I just never noticed because I didn't have my microscope. But when you look under your microscope, it's very clear as day that that ultrasonic cleaner, like the basket, the vibration of everything moving together will cause micro scratches on your jewelry. So take the basket out, and I like to use any kind of wire. I just happen to have binding wire here in the studio, and so I leave a strip of binding wire next to my ultrasonic cleaner, and I just loop it through all of my jewelry and hang it in the ultrasonic so that it's not touching a basket the whole time. So just a little tip, maybe try that out. It's not something that's a huge deal. You're not going to notice it very heavily, but if you have a piece that's really smooth and where you would notice those micro scratches, then you want to make sure you take that basket out. After this step, I usually just go rinse it under some clean water because I don't want any soaps from the ultrasonic sitting on the jewelry or drying on the gemstone. So I like to rinse it underwater and then just towel dry it, and then I'm all done. I hate this saying, but pretty much there are many ways to skin a cat. There's no real like right or wrong way to do it. There are things that you're gonna find that you like more, or things that you hear other people that they like to use when they're sanding and polishing. I've had people say, why do you use radial discs? Why don't you use rubber ones? It's like, I don't know, this works. Why would I not use it if it works? So same concept. There's a ton of that when it comes to polishing. Find what you like to do and do it. It's not wrong if it works. This is just what I like to do and what I use. And when I find something that works, I don't tend to change it unless someone convinces me otherwise as to why I should change it, or maybe there's something I don't know about that is life-changing, like the magnetic tumbler. If there's anything I missed or anything that you feel super passionately about in your polishing process, please leave it in the comments below. There's so much that I know that I don't know that other people can learn from you by reading the comments. So please put that in the comments below. Like and subscribe. It really helps my channel grow. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.